Today, we're diving into the wildest, most jaw-dropping rides ever to roll across the Barrett-Jackson auction block. We're talking million-dollar muscle, iconic classics, and rare beasts that sent the crowd into a money-throwing frenzy. If you love fast cars, big engines, and even bigger price tags, you're in the right place. Let's fire up those engines and count down the 20 most expensive cars ever sold at Barrett-Jackson. This is going to be one heck of a ride. 1967 Chevrolet Corvette Custom Convertible. Number 20 on our list is an absolute stunner. The 1967 Chevrolet Corvette Custom Convertible, Lot 1367, hammered down at a jaw-dropping $935,000. This ain't just any old 67 Vet. We're talking a full-blown resto mod, built to absolute perfection by Jeff Haynes Customs and finished in a classy vintage champagne paint job with a sleek linen interior. Under the hood lies a beastly LS3 V8 engine cranking out 540 horsepower, mated to a smooth 4L70E automatic transmission. The drivetrain alone would make any car guy drool, but wait until you hear the rest. This Corvette rides on an Art Morrison sport chassis, which means it handles like a brand new Corvette but looks like a classic 67. It features 4-wheel Willwood disc brakes to bring it to a halt, power steering, power windows, and even a power hood. The inside's all about comfort too. It's got vintage air conditioning keeping things cool, and an AM/FM Bluetooth stereo to crank out some Creedence or Skinnerd while you're cruising down the highway. Those custom shot wheels, wrapped in white line tires, give it the perfect stance that screams old school muscle with modern swagger. Plus, the custom touches set it apart. Everything from the frame-off restoration to the perfect stitching in the seats is pure craftsmanship. The devil's in the details, boys, and this Corvette is all about the details. Alright, now that we're warmed up, we're gonna take it up another notch. If you thought the 67 Corvette was hot, wait till you get a load of what else rolled across the block. Before then, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We've got more incredible cars coming your way, and you don't want to miss them. Subscribe now, and let's keep this horsepower train rolling. At number 19, 1963 Chevrolet Corvette Custom Split Window Coupe. Next up is a unicorn, the 1963 Chevrolet Corvette Custom Split Window Coupe, Lot 1368, which sold for an eye-watering $990,000. Now everybody knows the 63 split window is the holy grail for Vet lovers. It's the only year Chevrolet slapped that split rear window on the Stingray coupe, and man, it looks like it's going 100 miles an hour just sitting still. But this isn't your granddaddy's split window. This beast is a full-blown high-end resto mod crafted by the same magician, Jeff Haynes Customs, who built the 67 we just drooled over. This bad boy packs a fresh LS3 hot cam engine, producing a thunderous 540 horsepower, and is bolted to a rock-solid 4L70E automatic transmission. The backbone of this monster is the Art Morrison sport chassis, giving it razor-sharp handling that would put some modern sports cars to shame. It's sitting low and mean on a set of custom-shot wheels wrapped in white line radial tires, just oozing attitude. Outside, it's dressed to kill in stunning Bianca Fuji paint. Think shimmering pearl white that changes ever so slightly depending on the light. It looks flat-out killer whether it's parked at a car show or smoking the rear tires leaving a Cars and Coffee. Inside is pure luxury mixed with vintage vibes. The camel interior is loaded with custom lighting, lighted door sills, and a gorgeous Idiot chrome steering column topped with a custom mahogany steering wheel. It's equipped with power steering, power windows, a power hood, and vintage air climate control to keep you cool when things get hot. Number 18, 1977 Ford F-150 Custom Pickup Hoonitruck. The legendary 1977 Ford F-150 Custom Pickup, better known as the Hoonitruck, wasn't just any old farm truck. This was Ken Block's personal tire-shredding monster, the one that tore up the Gymkhana 10 videos and climbed China's death-defying Tiananmen Mountain in Gymkhana 2. Now, this thing didn't just look the part, it had the heart of a race car and the soul of a rebel. Under the hood is a 914 horsepower twin-turbo 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, snatched straight out of the Ford GT Le Mans program. We're talking billet aluminum block, custom-tuned insanity. Ford even 3D printed the intake manifold, making it the largest printed car part at the time, which took a whopping 150 hours to create. The Hoonitruck sat low, mean, and wide on custom fuel off-road wheels with real beadlocks, wrapped in Toyo tires. Ken wasn't just building a toy, he was paying tribute to his old man. See, the 77 F-150 was the very truck his dad had, the one where he first learned how to light up the rear tires. Inside, it was just as wild. Imagine a full carbon fiber dash, Recaro racing seats, and Ford Pass tech so you could fire up all 914 ponies remotely. The entire build took 2 years and was overseen by a crew of geniuses at Detroit Speed. They took a battered old F-150 body, dropped it into a tube frame chassis, hand-formed military-grade aluminum body panels, and finished it off in Ken's signature matte black and gray, even winning Best Dressed at Tokyo Auto Salon. When the hammer dropped at Barrett-Jackson, the Hoonitruck pulled a whopping $990,000. Number 17, the 2022 Ford GT. Just when you thought we couldn't top a twin-turbo, four-wheel drifting monster, in rolls 2022 Ford GT, the final year for Ford's modern-day Le Mans legend, and boys, it ain't just a pretty face. This beauty hammered down at $1.1 million, and honestly, it's worth every penny. Let's start with the looks. Finished in frozen white with a satin frozen white PPF wrap, black and white leather trimmed interior, and dark gray 20-inch forged aluminum wheels wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires. It's basically a street-legal fighter jet. Under the deck lid, it's packing a twin-turbocharged 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, punching out a hair-raising 660 horsepower and 550 pound-feet of torque. That's mated to a lightning-quick 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission that'll launch you off the line so hard you'll think you time-traveled back to '68. But it was more about engineering wizardry. Carbon fiber everything, front splitter, rear diffuser, aero-optimized bodywork that slices through the air like a hot knife through butter. There's even a deployable rear wing that pops up when you stomp the go pedal hard enough. Brembo carbon ceramic brakes brings it all back down to earth in a hurry, just in case you run out of runway. Inside, Ford didn't skimp either. You've got a serialized build plaque right on the dash, a steering wheel wrapped in ebony Alcantara with matte carbon trim, black anodized shift paddles, and an LED rev counter smack dab where you can't miss it. The seats? Carbon fiber Sparco racing buckets, bolstered in leather, holding you tighter than your grandma's Thanksgiving hug. Number 16, 2019 Ford GT, is the 2019 Ford GT, lot 1369.1, hammering down at a wild $1.21 million. Over $1 million for a modern American hypercar, but trust me, once you hear the story, you'll get why. This is the only 2019 GT ever sprayed in grabber orange, a true one-of-a-kind verified by Multimatic, the very people who helped Ford build these beasts. Now, when you're talking about exclusive paint from the extended color palette and nearly $100,000 in factory options, you know you're in rare air. Underneath that wild skin, you've got a twin-turbocharged 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6. Some folks might turn their noses up at a V6, but don't let it fool you. It churns out a thundering 647 horsepower and 550 pound-feet of torque. Bolted to a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, this thing rockets from 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds flat. It can do a quarter mile in 10.8 seconds at a scorching 134 miles per hour. Inside, it's all business. Motorsport-inspired Sparco seats with a 6-point harness, a stripped-down dark energy interior, and a steering wheel that looks like it was yanked straight out of Ford's race cars. Now, with 1,613 actual miles on the odometer, it's barely broken in. You could practically still smell the factory on this thing. During its debut, the Ford GT set a blistering lap time of 2 minutes 43 seconds at the famed Virginia International Raceway. Although that record only stood for a few months, it made one thing crystal clear. This car wasn't built to look good, it was built to compete. Number 15, the 1956 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing Coupe is a true icon of the automotive world. The 1956 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing Coupe, lot 1406, raking in a jaw-dropping $1,402,500. If there was ever a car that defined elegance and speed, it's this one right here. This Gullwing has been treated to a 3-year body-off concours-level restoration, documented with over 3,000 photos and a substantial collection of invoices. Every nut, bolt, every seam and stitch, absolutely dialed in to perfection. Let's talk numbers for a sec. Only 311 Gullwings were produced in 1956. That's rarer than a steak at a barbecue competition. This one still features its original fuel-injected 3-liter inline-6 engine, producing impressive power even by today's standards. Direct fuel injection back in the 50s was some next-level wizardry. Everything about this car is top shelf. It's finished in DB190 graphite gray over a light gray leather interior, pure class from nose to tail. Even the Nardi steering wheel is factory optioned, giving you that perfect blend of sport and sophistication every time you grab hold. Behind the wheel, it's a surreal experience. Those iconic Gullwing doors aren't just cool to look at, they were necessary because of the 300 SL's intricate space frame chassis. Regular doors wouldn't even fit. Inside, it's a blend of hand-stitched luxury and purposeful German engineering. It's a car that could waltz into a concours, snatch a trophy, and then smoke most sports cars at the track on the way home. Number 14, 1987 Porsche 959 Comfort. The 1987 Porsche 959 Comfort is one of those cars that, even after nearly 40 years, still appears to have just landed from another planet. Only 292 of these bad boys were ever made for the model year, so right off the bat, you know it's something special. Sitting under the deck lid is Porsche's original 2.85-liter flat six, but this has got sequential twin turbos strapped to it, cranking out 440 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. That's a serious punch even by today's standards, but back in the 80s, man, it was absolutely untouchable. 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds and a top speed of 197 miles per hour, so Porsche wasn't playing around. It also had what was basically science fiction tech at the time, an adjustable all-wheel drive system that could push up to 80% of the power to the rear wheels. Plus, it was the first production car in the world to have active suspension. It adjusted ride height and damping automatically depending on what you needed, whether you were carving canyons or blasting across the Autobahn. When this car hit the Barrett-Jackson auction floor, it was sitting pretty with only 4,023 miles on the clock. Fully documented with a Porsche Certificate of Authenticity, it hammered down for $1,457,500, and let me tell you, that's a steal when you consider this is the very car that shaped everything Porsche built afterward. At number 13, 2020 Ford GT Liquid Carbon Special Edition. The regular Ford GT is already a beast. The 2020 Ford GT Liquid Carbon Special Edition is on a whole different planet. Only 30 liquid carbon GTs were ever built. Ford basically said, paint? Nah, let's show off the full exposed carbon fiber body. Which, by the way, was a $250,000 factory option by itself. That's a house in some parts of the country. This particular ride came out of Grammy-nominated DJ Marshmello's personal collection. Powered by a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged EcoBoost V6, the liquid carbon GT punches out a brutal 660 horsepower and 550 pound-feet of torque. With the dual-clutch 7-speed transmission and aerodynamics honed for Le Mans, it'll rip from 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds flat and a quarter mile of 10.8 seconds at 134 miles per hour. On top of all that muscle, it's packed with factory upgrades, gloss carbon fiber 20-inch wheels, blue-painted Brembo calipers, 6-point harness anchors, and even $7,500 worth of custom Voodoo Blue mirror caps. Tiny touches, sure, but they show exclusivity. This GT had barely been touched, too, basically still smelling like the factory. It came with every piece of paperwork you could ever want. Window sticker, build photos, owner's manual, 2 keys, the color palette case from Ford Design, and a plaque from Multimatic certifying it was build number 5 of just 30. They even threw in a matching carbon fiber helmet and a VIP experience in Vegas for the new owner. All that badassery, and it hammered at Barrett-Jackson for a cool $1.76 million, worth every penny in our opinion. Number 12. The 2014 Pagani Huayra is Italian craftsmanship at its most outrageous. Only 100 of these hypercars were ever built for that model year, so just seeing one in person is like spotting Bigfoot at a car meet. Under the hood is a 6-liter twin-turbocharged V12 built by none other than AMG. This motor cranks out a wild 730 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque. Imagine the sound this beast makes with exhaust tuning modifications installed by its previous owner. It's less of a roar and more like an angry symphony. Now, this particular Huayra comes with the Tempesta package, a $180,000 upgrade that features larger wheels, exposed carbon fiber throughout, a front diffuser for improved grip, and a burnt titanium exhaust system that appears extraterrestrial with its deep blue glow. This car was also designed for absolute performance. 4 little wing flaps at each corner adjusting in real time depending on how you're tearing down the road. Step inside and you're treated to a cabin that feels more like you've sat down in the cockpit of a fighter jet. Aerospace-inspired design, hand-stitched leather, and aluminum switchgear that looks like it was machined for a NASA project. Even the gauge cluster is a masterpiece, a slick combination of analog craftsmanship and digital precision. The Huayra rolled across the Barrett-Jackson auction block and hammered down a staggering $1.925 million. At number 11, the 2023 Hennessey Venom F5 Roadster was insanely fast. We're talking a top speed of 265.6 miles per hour. This is number 2 of only 30 made, and it's powered by a 6.6-liter twin-turbo Fury V8 engine that belts out an earth-shattering 1,817 horsepower through a 7-speed automated manual transmission, shot straight to the rear wheels, putting you on a rocket ride every time you tap the gas. The Venom F5 is built on a carbon fiber monocoque, paired with aluminum alloy subframes, and features a carbon fiber body panel. It's light, it's stiff, and it's ready to take off. Double wishbone suspension all around, adjustable Penske coilover shocks, carbon ceramic brakes with blue calipers that'll stop you on a dime even if you're flying past 200 miles per hour. Drenched in citrus orange, it's got butterfly doors, a removable carbon fiber roof panel that pops off with just a few bolts, and a rear end that showcases the massive Fury V8 through a tempered glass window designed to survive speeds over 300 miles per hour and temperatures hotter than some jet engines. The wheels are staggered, featuring 19 and 20-inch black anodized forged alloys, carved with the Hennessey script, and paired with sticky Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires. Inside, you'll find carbon fiber racing seats stitched in citrus orange and black leather, and a carbon fiber yoke steering wheel that makes you feel like you're piloting a spacecraft, not a car. When that hammer fell, it took a jaw-dropping $2.2 million to call this Venom F5 Roadster yours, and honestly, every single penny was worth it for a hypercar that's got more punch than most fighter jets. Number 10. We're halfway closer to the top of the mountain, and at number 10, we've got the 1969 Chevrolet Corvette number 57, better known as the Rebel. This was one of only 4 lightweight L88s ever built, a real race-bred monster packing a 7-liter V8 that cranked out over 500 horsepower. No computers, no gimmicks, just raw tire-melting power backed up by a 4-speed manual you had to wrestle like a gator. Built in secret while GM had racing bans in place, the Rebel was ordered new by Pro Racer or Costanza and delivered by Furman Chevrolet down in Tampa. This car tore up IMSA tracks in the early 70s, nailing podium finishes left and right, with drivers like Dave Hines and Bob Johnson behind the wheel. It even helped win the IMSA championship in '71. The Rebel's claim to fame was at the 1972 Daytona 24 Hours, where it snagged 8th overall and 1st in GT1, setting records that stood for decades. Plus, it was the first car to race with Goodyear's new radial tires, a total game changer. After disappearing into obscurity, it was rescued from a South Carolina scrapyard and lovingly restored to its Sebring-winning trim. When it crossed the block at Barrett-Jackson in 2014, collectors knew they were looking at history, and they didn't let it go cheap, but for $2.86 million. Coming in at number 9 is the 1948 Tucker Torpedo. Also known as the Tucker 48, this machine was Preston Tucker's moonshot, a futuristic car packed with innovation that Detroit's big dogs just didn't see coming. Only 51 were ever made before the FCC came knocking and shut down the whole operation. The Tucker was pure genius. It had a rear-mounted 5.5-liter flat-six engine, safety features like a padded dash and pop-out windshield for crashes that were way ahead of its time, and a third center headlight, nicknamed the Cyclops Eye, that turned with the front wheels. Styled by Alex Tremulous, who used to design for Auburn Cord, the Torpedo wasn't just futuristic, it was gorgeous. Low slung at just 60 inches tall, but roomy enough for a whole family inside, it had curves in all the right places and a drag coefficient of just 0.3, crazy slippery for the 40s. The example that sold at Barrett-Jackson in 2012, chassis number 1043, was a stunner. Finished in waltz blue, it was probably the best restored Tucker on the planet. Every detail was on point, from the broadcloth interior to the Kaiser-sourced door handles. Even though it originally left the factory without a transmission, by the early 1950s, it was finally complete and ready to roll. When that beautiful blue Torpedo hit the block, the atmosphere was electric. Everyone knew they were bidding for something more than just a car. So bidding skyrocketed past 7 figures. The crowd roared and the hammer dropped at $2.915 million. Folks were on their feet cheering. Number 8. The 2020 Corvette Stingray VIN 001, the first ever production mid-engine Corvette, thundered across the Barrett-Jackson stage and hammered for a cool $3 million. Under the skin, this beast packs the all-new LT2 6.2-liter V8 engine, cranking out a mighty 495 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque, stampeding straight to the rear wheels through an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission. The auction wasn't just about the car either. This was a charity event, with every single dollar going straight to the Detroit Children's Fund, helping to revamp schools and change lives in Detroit. The winning bidder was none other than Rick Hendrick, the NASCAR team owner and legendary car collector. Rick's got a real thing for serial number 1 cars. He already owns the first Chevy Volt, the last C7 Corvette, and the first Acura NSX. Oh, and get this. Hendrick had the option to pick up his new C8 straight from the Bowling Green Corvette assembly plant, complete with a private tour of the National Corvette Museum. Additionally, the car came with a letter of authenticity and unique artwork to complete the purchase. But if you thought this sale was wild, buckle up, because we're just getting warmed up. Next up is a real deal piece of American automotive mythology, and it'll blow your mind how rare it is. At number 7, the 1954 Oldsmobile F-88 GM concept car is a unicorn among unicorns. Back in the 50s, General Motors was cooking up big ideas. Corvette sales weren't exactly lighting up the charts, so a few GM masterminds like Harley Earl, Bill Mitchell, Ken Pickering, and Zora Arkus Duntov decided Oldsmobile needed its sporty roadster to steal the show. The result was the F-88, a sleek rocket-shaped beauty powered by a 324 cubic inch rocket V8 cranking out 250 horsepower. In 1954, that was absolutely insane for a production car, but remember, this was a concept. It was built to dream bigger than showroom floors can handle. Only 4 F-88s were ever made. Of course, just one survived the decades. After GM canceled the project thanks to Corvette's rocky start, the surviving F-88 somehow made its way into private hands. For years, it sat in pieces, tucked away in wooden crates, practically forgotten by time. Then, like something out of a movie, it was painstakingly reassembled and brought back to life. When it rolled onto the Barrett-Jackson auction stage in 2005, you could hear a pin drop. The bidding war was absolutely fierce. Hands shooting up, million-dollar bids getting tossed like poker chips. Finally, the hammer dropped at $3.24 million, making it the highest-selling car at Barrett-Jackson at the time, with the winning bidder being the Hendrix collection. Number 6. 1954 Pontiac Bonneville Special Concept Car. Only 2 Bonneville Specials were ever built, one in a deep bronze and the other in a rich emerald green. The bronze beauty made its debut in the Grand Ballroom of New York's Waldorf Astoria Hotel, and the green stunner popped up at the Pan Pacific Auditorium out in LA. Under the hood, you had a 268 cubic inch straight 8, pushing out a respectable 230 horsepower, mated to a hydromatic automatic transmission. Not exactly supercar numbers by today's standards, but back then, this was nothing to sneeze at, especially wrapped in a body that seemed capable of breaking the sound barrier. It stood still. The design wasn't just futuristic, it was aviation crazy. The dashboard was loaded with gauges ripped right out of an airplane junkyard, a clock, a compass, and a manifold pressure gauge. Even the shifter looked like a jet's landing gear lever. Topping it all off was that iconic plexiglass bubble canopy with gull-wing glass doors, making the driver feel more like a fighter pilot than a motorist. Those fake aluminum oil coolers on the fenders and the jet turbine-look Continental kit on the back, pure showbiz magic. It cost GM somewhere between $350,000 and $400,000 in 1953 money to build these dream machines. However, fast forward to the auction block in 2015 and the bronze Bonneville Special crossed the stage, hammering down for a cool $3.3 million, while the green one was sold back in 2005 for just over $3 million. Number 5. When it comes to modern American muscle, the 2023 Chevrolet Corvette Z06 VIN 001 blew the doors off expectations at Barrett-Jackson. You're looking at the first retail production Z06, specially made to mark Corvette's 70th anniversary, and it's more than just a pretty face. This beast packs a 5.5-liter LT6 V8 under its skin, cranking out 670 horsepower without a single turbo, supercharger, or electric motor in sight. It's the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 ever stuffed into a production car. It's got a screaming flat plane crankshaft that revs all the way up to 8,600 RPM, just begging to be thrashed around the track. The car's wrapped in an aggressive wind-cheating body with wider fenders, massive air intakes, and a rear fascia that looks like it means serious business. Even the exhaust pipes are center-mounted and floating. It was all part of perfecting that snarling exhaust note that sets this Z06 apart from everything else on the road. Inside, it's all about speed and luxury. Carbon fiber everywhere, including an available carbon fiber wrapped steering wheel and color choices galore so you can make your Z06 just as wild or classy as you want. When this Z06 rolled onto the Barrett-Jackson stage, it wasn't just about the car. Every single penny of that final price was going to Operation Homefront, a charity that supports military families transitioning back into civilian life. When the gavel finally fell, $3.6 million was the winning number. That's not just a record for a Corvette auctioned for charity at Barrett-Jackson. It smashed the previous record held by the first mid-engine Corvette Stingray, which pulled $3 million back in 2020. Moreover, the winning bidder was none other than Rick Hendrick, the legendary NASCAR team owner, same person who acquired the first mid-engine Corvette a few years ago. Number 4, the 1967 L88. Now, when you think Corvette, you think speed, style, and pure American muscle. That's a whole different car, folks. Only 20 of these beasts were ever built, and what made them even crazier was that GM didn't even want you driving them on the street. It was a straight-up race car with license plates. Packing a 427 cubic inch V8 under the hood, the L88 was officially rated at 430 horsepower. Sounds decent, right? But it was heavily underrated. Throw one on a dyno and you're talking more than 560 horsepower tearing up the pavement. That's the kind of number that makes your palms sweat just thinking about it. This particular L88 is the only known example with the red exterior and red interior. It's backed by the GM documentation, including a rare and legible tank sheet that has been verified by the NCRS Document Validation Service. For the Corvette nerds out there, this thing has everything you dream about. M22 heavy-duty 4-speed transmission, J56 heavy-duty brakes, a brutal 4.56 rear axle, and that legendary K66 transistor ignition system. The engine block was as tough as nails, a forged steel crankshaft, cross-drilled for strength, floating piston pins, and aluminum heads to shave off 70 pounds of weight. Even the carb was a monster 850 CFM Holley double pumper, sucking air straight from the base of the windshield. When this particular red-on-red missile rolled onto the Barrett-Jackson stage at Scottsdale in 2014, it made history, hammering down at a staggering $3.85 million. Worth every penny. Number 3. The 1950 General Motors Futurliner is a little different from the others on our list, but it was dreamed up by GM's legendary Harley Earl himself. Built as part of the Parade of Progress, these massive 300,000-pound giants toured the country showing off the latest and greatest in technology, stuff like jet engines, atomic energy, and microwaves. At the time, most folks hadn't even seen a TV yet, so seeing a Futurliner pull into town was like seeing a spaceship land. Only 12 of these mechanical marvels were ever built, and today, just a handful survive. This particular Futurliner, known as the March of Tools, is one of the last. It's been fully restored to its original glory, complete with the opening side panels, retractable stage, crazy center-mounted cupola cockpit, and even the onboard generator to run its own displays. When it first crossed the Barrett-Jackson auction block in 2006, collector Ron Pratt snapped it up. But Ron wasn't done with it. He sent it off for an even deeper, no-expense-spared re-restoration, making it arguably the finest Futurliner in the world. New period-correct tires, factory colors, every little detail brought back to its 1950s heyday. Now, Ron Pratt was more than a collector. He was a proud Army veteran. So when he decided to sell his prized Futurliner at the 2015 Scottsdale auction, he made it a charity sale to benefit the Armed Forces Foundation. The hammer dropped at $4 million, and then an incredible $650,000 in extra donations rolled in from generous bidders. Number 2 on our list is the original 1966 Batmobile, which made history at Barrett-Jackson's 42nd annual Scottsdale auction. This was the real deal, built by the king of customizers himself, George Barris. This Batmobile originated as a 1955 Lincoln Futura concept car, a one-of-a-kind hand-built beauty crafted by Italian artisans at Ghia. This thing wasn't just for show, it was a fully functional car back in the day, featuring a big old Ford V8 under the hood. Back then, Ford invested approximately $250,000 in it, which would be equivalent to about $2.2 million today. Fast forward to 1965, and Barris picked it up from Ford for a whopping $1. When ABC needed a car for their new Batman TV series starring Adam West and Burt Ward, Barris had just 15 days and a $15,000 budget to transform the Futura into something that could roll right out of Gotham City. What came out of his shop was nothing short of iconic. Sleek black paint, red pinstripes, bat emblems, and gadgets galore. When Barrett-Jackson announced that the Batmobile was going up for auction, collectors and fans nearly lost their minds. On January 19, 2013, it rolled onto the stage, and the place absolutely erupted. George Barris himself climbed out of the car, soaking in the standing ovation. Bidding was a frenzy, and in the end, the hammer dropped at $4.62 million for Rick Champagne, a collector, beating out the Aston Martin DB5 from Goldfinger by $11,000. The sale set a new record for a vehicle featured in a TV or movie. Barrett-Jackson even worked with Guinness World Records to make it official. Number 1. The legendary 1966 Shelby Cobra 427 Super Snake, hammering down at a jaw-dropping $5.5 million. This beast is CSX 3015, the last surviving Super Snake built by Shelby American. It's rare and one of 2 Super Snakes ever built, and the only one still kicking. Originally built as a 427 competition roadster, this car got the ultimate upgrade in '67. 2 massive Paxton superchargers strapped to a 427 cubic inch V8. When Carroll Shelby wanted the meanest car, he built this. With about 800 horsepower under the hood and a 3-speed automatic transmission, the Super Snake could roast the tires at the flick of your pinky. Shelby himself once said it would kick the tail of just about anything in the world. He wasn't joking. 0 to 60 in just over 3 seconds back in the 60s. Can you believe that? The other Super Snake, CSX 3303, was sold to none other than comedian Bill Cosby. Poor Bill took one terrifying ride, turned ghost white, and gave it right back. Later, that car was sold to a guy named Tony Maxey, who tragically drove it off a cliff into the Pacific Ocean. Thank heaven CSX 3015 survived. It stayed true to its racing roots, too. Still rocking its original 1965 date-coded engine block, 427 competition 377 rear end, original aluminum Super Snake hood, and even the headers with chromed side pipes, painted flat black at some point, but still original underneath. They didn't restore it, they renewed it to keep that raw, authentic magic alive. There you have it, some of the rarest, wildest, and most expensive rides to ever cross the Barrett-Jackson auction block. If you enjoyed this money-packed countdown, make sure you smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got plenty more jaw-dropping car content coming your way. You won't want to miss a second of it. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you in the next one.